Well, hello. Welcome to Supports, Pivot Points, and Resistances. And I'll give it a few more minutes for people to come in. Welcome to Supports, Pivot Points, and Resistances. And I'll give it a few more minutes for people to come in. Hope everybody had a blessing weekend. Give it a couple more minutes and we'll be ready. Grab you something to drink, get your pencil and paper out, take notes. When this song's done, we're going to get on it. Well, welcome to I Love Stocks. The purpose of this is to kind of show you how to find supports, pivot points, and resistances on stocks of your choice. Everybody will get one pick, so if you have one in mind, you might want to type it in the room. And then I'm going to kind of go over a few stocks that to start off with here that one that I am in, and a couple others just to kind of rile people up a little bit. But this is all about supports, pivot points, and resistances on how you can find these places on your tickers of your choice. And I want to wish everybody a great day today after we get done here. It's going to last for a couple of hours. Can you hear me just fine? May I ask? There's a 7-second delay from where I'm standing into YouTube. So if anybody type in the room and say they can hear me fine, I'd really appreciate it. All right. How do I get my charts to the bottom? That's a tough question. You know, I've been trading for over 16 years now. I've been mostly a scalper. Then I met Vegas one day about 3 years ago, and she kind of turned me into she's taught me a lot. And one thing that I've learned from a lot of people, from the experience to the inexperience, I always learn something. So that's the good thing about doing this 2 hour session. I learned a little bit about you all, and you learn a little bit about me. And I just started trading options about 7 months ago, so I'm really liking that. I like it a lot, as they would say. Part in the middle, party in the back. I like it a lot. So we're going to kind of just go through a couple tickers that I like, and the chart that I'm going to be pulling up is going to be it's going to be a Fibonacci setup, which I can change to different time frames, and it automatically sets up. We also have the 4 different moving averages that I'm real familiar with, and they are the EMAs, because I like to scalp. You know, I like to swing overnight and get out of a trade. My biggest probably issue is not holding on to them long enough, and that's something that I am working on. And because I have missed out on a lot of good money by not holding on to a lot of good trades, but I also found out that I've lost money by holding on to them. So the easiest way that I've found so far of keeping my money is swinging them overnight and getting out first thing in the morning, unless the stock's running real well. So I have 3 different moving averages on here, or 4. I have the 200, which I'm going to talk about a little bit today on how to play the 200. And that's going to be just kind of thrown in. I got the 100 EMA, and I got the 34, and I have the 9. And the 9's in the blue. And I'll be talking about a little bit about them also. But Thursday, got lucky, held on to some Boeing stock. I got in it I'm real good at finding supports, pivot points, and resistances. And if you get anything out of this 2 hour session, that's what I want you to understand, or get a little bit more. You can use your different moving averages however suits you best, and every time frame is different. But I've also learned, and I've noticed, and I tell this to a lot of people, learning chart patterns will definitely increase your profitability. You'll know when to get in and when to get out of a trade. I identified these stair-step patterns here last Friday, and then I also found this little pennant flag. We had a pennant flag right here Friday, and when we had that, she went ahead and broke on out, pulled back to that 34. Now I'm talking about Boeing. So I'm going to pull up the 5-minute chart. I use Ameritrade. I have 3 different platforms. I use Ameritrade for scalping and swing trading. I use the, let me pull up the 5-day right here. I also use the use stock trade for scalping only. And I also use Tastyworks for option trades. And this is the call that I'm in right now that I swung for over the weekend, and I swung this also Thursday and made real good money on it, about $300 a contract. And this is the May 15th $200 strike. I think we're going to go higher on this trade, and I got a whole month to hold on to this. If I'm up pretty good on it Monday, I might just go ahead and I think I found a resistance level. I might just go ahead and get out of the trade. But for right now, we'll go ahead and look at the 5-day. We did have like a double bottom on this Wednesday and Thursday. That kind of enticed me to get into the trade. We found a little consolidated entry right in here at the low 135 level. And I've got in my entry right in here, and she bounced up, and then she started dipping on me. And right into close, you know, I'm kind of down a little bit on the trade. But then all of a sudden that news came out about them going ahead and open up that new plant that they got, and the stock just ran. So I'm still bullish on this trade into next week, and we're going to see if we can bring it on up to at least 175 is my target. And that's going to be Boeing. And right now we close a little bit after hours. I'm up about $45, $48 on the trade right now. So I got back in it on this dip that we had right here where these red lines were, and she went ahead and pulled on back, and then she went ahead and run into close, which was a very pretty sight. So that's one you want to keep on your watch list for next week for sure. And there's another one that I'm going to talk about. It's going to be Tesla. And then here in about another, maybe a couple more tickers, I'm going to be asking everybody out there if they have one that they want me to look at. Vegas is going to be talking on here, so when the Vegas and Jim pops up, she's the one that's going to be writing in here, and she might post some few comments in here, so everybody give kudos to her. She's a fantastic lady, and I've learned a lot from her. And also down in the comment section, also hit that subscribe for me, ring that bell for future updates, and also hit that like button. I'd really appreciate that. And if you don't like it, go ahead and hit that, but give me a reason why you don't, because I'd always like to try to make this a little bit better as we go. And this is something I'm going to repeat for a while. At least I'm going to be practicing my social distancing this way for 2 hours a day on Saturday, and I'm going to try to keep the time right at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And down in the comment section, we have our I Love Stocks chat page where you can join the chat room if you like. We also I have a couple other things on there. I have our stock twits and our Twitter page. So if you follow us and you have either one of them accounts, go ahead and go to those links and hit that follow button. I'd really appreciate that also. So we're going to talk about Tesla. Tesla's next. Bears have really been hungry on Tesla here lately, and they just don't get it. And I argue with them all the time about it, about why it's a momentum play right now. They think that the oil is an issue with Tesla, which it's not. They think it's way too high, that coronavirus is maybe stopped the car sales, which it's not. People with money are going to keep buying Teslas. It's a static. I mean, it's a it's something to show off to their friends. And every customer that buys a Tesla is a personal salesman for Tesla. And that's what I like about Tesla. Tesla is just not a car maker. It's a chip maker. It's a battery maker. And I did some videos on this about a couple months ago when we had that big run. And I talked about April. I said April's going to be a good month for Tesla. And I was pretty spot on it because it's battery month. And they are going to be opening up a gigafactory this week. And that's another reason why I think this is going to bounce up a little bit more, or at least try to hold support level. I do have a low support here, and I charted this in the stock twits room too, if you ever pull back and look at that. I talked about where I thought it would pull back, and I was spot on the third support. The third support, and that's going to be Tesla. So I'm very bullish on Tesla. I've been bullish on Tesla for ever since it was put into an IPO at $50. And I've been fighting the bears all the way up. Now the institutions, Goldman Sachs upgrades it, so they're finally on board. And this is just one stock where a lot of them fat cats should have got in it when it was down here at cheap, but they refused to do that. And now that it's up here so high, they're regretting that they did not. So I'm still very, very bullish on Tesla, and I will be for a long period of time, unless something major happens to Elon Musk. Then I expect a pretty big knife on it. So we're going to go to the daily, and I'm going to show you where I found the supports and the pivot points on the daily 5-minute. I had a support level that I posted in stock twits and in the room at 748.03. We did hit that 748.03 right on spot. And I had a little first and second supports that were also on this here too. And I'm going to see if I can pull this back to the 5 and magnify it. I had a very first support that was right around here between the 758.70 and the 764. We did kind of hover down in there and bounced off of it a couple of times. Then it did hit my second support level, which was right down here at 753.07. We bounced off of it, hit that top of that resistance level at 764. And then we went ahead and pulled back to that other support level that I had number 3 at 748.03. And we bounced right off that. And we kind of have a little descending pattern right here. We're going to see how this thing takes off, how it reacts. But I will tell you right now that there are some relentless bears on this trade, and I consider that they probably don't. They're just probably jealous, or they just don't know how to be in the now. And Tesla's an innovator, and that's what makes this stock better than General Motors, better than Ford, better than any other car maker out there. And they're way ahead of their times. There used to be a band called the Dillards. They're a bluegrass band, and they were way ahead of their times. And by being ahead of time and being an innovator, it can really cause you to be an outstanding play. So this has already been a 10x, and I expect it to be more than that. After we get through the Corona bit, this was the only stock out there that held up. And I think Microsoft would have been about another one that held up and did not go down very much when we had the big crash. It did pull back, but it bounced right back up to the resistance levels. So no lower than 730, and the resistance to break has got to be this 772. But right now, this support level, the resistance level at 764.27 is the one we got to look at. And that's going to be Tesla. So keep that always on your watch list, and always remember that Washboard Jim is bullish on this stock. And let me see, I want to look at the SPY. Oh, they're Apple. Now here's another one that fooled a lot of people Friday. And I'm going to tell you something about the market. The market has a very short attention span. Very short attention span. Goldman Sachs came and downgraded this on Friday. We had a high, an all-time high up here right around not all time, but we were up here at 296.85 after hours. It had a huge spike. And so you would kind of expect to get in on the pullback. Now, if I was going to expect to try to find a pullback on the stock, I would bring it up to the next resistance of previous that we had. And I'd draw me a little resistance line right here, right around the 288.85. And then the news came out and you had that big gap down. So, yes. And then I was drawing these trend lines to where I thought would be another place of support. And I found one right here at this little place right in here. And I'm going to pull up the 20-day and see if we can find anything different. There's a reason that I called that little support level right in here, and that's just because we consolidated and had a little pivot point for 3 days right here, and we did pull back to that support level on Thursday. So that was a good little place to call it support. Then another one was right here where we had that little breakout. And then we had a ascending triangle right here. This would be your low, low, low support here on Apple. And that, to me, is a solid support. That's what I would call a solid support level there at 270.24, because it took 3 times. It actually took the 4th time to break out of that ascending triangle. And I talk about chart patterns a lot. Ascending triangle is where you have a horizontal line that crosses across, and they try to fail the break. It usually breaks out on the 3rd or 4th time that it hits that top. As you have lower highs going into that candle, they're starting to squeeze. And once that squeeze happens, you hit a fine line, and then all of a sudden, you had that big gap down. Somebody just chickened out, or people started chickening out, but it ran right back up there, hit that resistance level, and broke on out to the new resistance. So we're going to magnify this up to a daily now, a daily 1 minute. And always remember, it has a short attention span. So it sold off all day, and then you had that huge gap up. It was about a $6 bounce into close. And Miss Vegas is watching Apple, and she watches that SPY about that first during power hour, and watches the tape and realizes, hey, maybe we're going to get a runner on this into close. And that's the way, I've been seeing a lot of it too. I've been seeing that SPY bounce back up about the first 15 minutes into close. So that's something to always keep on watch. Remember, the market has a very short attention span. This probably still can come back now. We're going to consolidate into a channel, and we're going to create a channel here. Let me pull up the 10-day, 30-minute. For right now, that channel is going to be between 278.06, and that's what we got to hold for a support level. If not, The next support's going to be right down here where this gap is on that 20-day, that 10-day, 30-minute chart. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a trend line right here. That's going to be our second support. And then our third one, of course, will be that horizontal line on that ascending triangle. And it should not go any lower than that 270. Who was that? Goldman Sachs has a 233 target on it. I don't think so. I don't think we'll get there, and I'll put money on it. But I would say probably this week we might pull back to that 270, and then we'll create a channel in here. But for right now, we do have a 4-day channel that could probably go ahead and exceed. Now, this is a 10-day, 30-minute chart, and I've talked about the moving averages. I'm going to magnify this up. We have the 200 EMA right here. You see how it bounced off that 200 EMA? Now I use this 200 EMA quite a bit on 2 time frames. That's the 10-minute, 30-minute, or 10-day, 30-minute, and then the 1-day daily 1 minute. And we might get to a couple trades where we can see it bounce off that. So I've talked about 3 trades today. I've talked about the SPY. Or did I talk about the SPY? I talked about Apple. And let's do the SPY for the very last one. You wonder why SPY is bullish. Especially when you know you have a big lockdown coming. Well, this has been on fire. It's always a good one to watch. And I just love watching the SPY, and I do scalp the SPY quite a bit when I can. We're going to pull up let's pull up the 20-day. We are at the 20-day. And I use a TTM chart here. This is a TTM trend chart, and we have the TTM squeeze down here below, and I have the volume set up in the red and green colors for the volume. But I like watching the trends. You know, I'm a trend trader. When I see the trends start to go up, I like to get in them. And then when I think I found a resistance, I like to go ahead and get out. But this is a 20-day. We have had it like a little double top. We did have a little high here last week. And then we went ahead and broke up into new highs on Thursday. And she did pull back on Friday. So let's go ahead and pull up the 1 hour, the daily 1 minute. I'm going to try to find a place where I think this can pull back, or a place where I think it can break out. We did have a pre-market high up right around in here, and we did hit that right in here. See where we hit that after hours? So we're just going to kind of bring it down to where it consolidated right here about 2 or 3 times, and we're going to call that a resistance level on the SPY, and that's going to be right there at 287.85. Now Miss Vegas watches the dark pool, and she watches algo flow in the room, and she alerts us when she thinks the volume is exceeding the price, or the price is exceeding the volume. And usually we can figure the price exceeding the volume before it even happens. And that's looking at the dark pool and looking at how many calls have been made for the day. I also use TOS to see how many calls have been made, and that's really helped me out for the last couple of weeks. So we got a resistance level up here right around the 287.85, and we have a support level right down here where it hit that 200. And I'm going to talk about that 200 quite a bit in this video, and I'm going to do an updated video, a short version of it. So we're going to put a support level there at 286.27. That's going to be our first one. Then we have a little spot right in here where we kind of popped up, and we have a little place down here where we kind of dipped down. So we have a double confirmation of a support level, and that's going to be right here at the 285.54. Now notice it is on the 50% retracement on the daily 1 minute chart. So that's 3 different confirmations. We have 2. We have this pullback here and this up here, plus we have the 50% retracement, which I play on the Fibonacci's. To me is a pretty good little spot of support. So that's going to be your second support level. And then your third one is going to be this little channel right down here. Now I do have a trend line on here at 284.74. but I'm going to put a little what they called there on Star Trek at Enterprise, that little beam, force. I can't remember the name of it, but I'm going to put a little channel right in here where I've seen this consolidation, and I'm going to go to that bottom line, and I'm going to see where it kind of consolidated right in here. So I'm going to hit that right there. Then I'm going to right click, turn the left extension off, and I'm going to go ahead and maybe enlarge this up to another size. Then I'm going to go ahead and go up to my tools, hit this, and then I'm going to draw me a force. You know what kind of beam I'm talking about. I'm going to hit that right there. So that's going to be my third support, and that's where I want it to hold. If it doesn't hold that, we could break down to these other levels down here at 283.03. So that's going to be your low, 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 strong buy support level. If it bounces off that and starts to bounce up, I think we're going to have a bullish week next week. A lot of the news in the market is about the Corona deal with Guild, ABT, Abbott. They're getting closer and closer to finding a cure for the Corona, COVID-19, and also they're talking about wanting to open up America back, get ready for business again. So those are the two big catalysts, and he's leaving it up to the governors. So this brings me to be bullish on the SPY and a lot of the QQQ and IWM and a lot of them financial tickers. Always keep a good eye on the banks too. They're solvent right now and they're doing very well. So let me read a couple comments in here. I would appreciate it if you gave me just one ticker to look at. I'm going to bring this to you all now, and we're going to talk about a ticker that you have in mind that you might be in, or you might we'll see if it crashes. We'll just have to see if it crashes. Earnings are going to be coming out on Tesla, but I'm very bullish on it. And I've been battling the bears ever since it was down at $250. They were saying it was going to dip back then. They were saying it was going to dip at 300. They were saying it was going to dip at 5. And the only reason it did dip hard is because of the crash of the market. Now we're back up here again, and we're going to start creating a channel. So, you can play it any way you want. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a put play, but I don't see it going any lower than 730. And next one we're going to talk about is going to be JP Morgan. Let me write these down. We're going to look at the yearly chart at JP Morgan right now. Definitely the boss is back in town. We do have a resistance level, and I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. We got a triple bottom right here of maybe a pivot point between what we had on the yearly chart. So that's going to be our first resistance level, or our last. At least we got to break that resistance level. Then we're going to try to find another one right down in here. We got a support level, resistance level right here. And we're going to find another one right down here. I'm bullish on JP Morgan also. We do have a trend where higher lows are coming into play. As you can see on the yearly chart, on the daily. We're going to draw this up right in here. Had a higher low, so that's a bullish. And we do have an ascending triangle where we did have these two tops right in here where they kind of went up there, and a little support resistance level right here. So I'm going to draw a couple more. Let me write these down for y'all. I've got Lulu next. ACB. Oh, that mRNA has been a hot one. No, I don't have any calls on Tesla right now. I joined the Bears Friday with Tesla, but it didn't pull back very hard. You know, they've been crying for 2 weeks, thinking it was going to dip, and it hasn't yet. But Friday we go into the weekend, and people are going to be reluctant to hold Tesla over the weekend. So when I find a support level, I'll be bullish on it. I'm thinking 730 is going to be the lowest. If it breaks at 730 and goes down, we could have, you know, a little bit more drama. But I took side with the Bears on it Friday. And ABT, it's definitely a good one to look at. What we got here? I think there's some mirror trade. Yep. Okay. So we got higher lows right here on JP Morgan. We kind of have a little choppy area right in here. So I see probably a support channel right in here at 93.95. And I'm just looking at these candles where I can find the best place of consolidation. We did have a low right here. And I'm just going to kind of probably draw a little trend line right in here. At this bottom of this base right here too. And then I see another one. Oh yeah, here's a nice little spot right here. So let's pull this up to the 20-day. I'm bullish on JP Morgan. We did have a pullback most of the week last week. And I love my 5-day rule in effect. We do have a pullback, and it did follow that trend that was up here on the trend line and stopped right there. So if it does pull back, it'll follow this trend line all the way up, and that trend line, as days go on, gets higher, higher, and higher. So we've got a couple of support levels on the 20-day, and we have one more right here. I'm going to go ahead and put a trend line right here at this. It's right around 61% on the Fibonacci level. We did have a 50% retracement on a 20-day chart where it did pull back and kind of bounced up right in around in here. And then she decided to pull back one more day. And then Friday was a beautiful day for JP Morgan. So we have a resistance level that we need to break, and that's going to be right here at this candle. And I'm looking for places of consolidation. I see 2 or 3 of them. I see one right here. I see it kind of consolidated in here, and I definitely see this ascending. I don't know what kind of pattern that is of consolidation. Then we did hit that high right here. So we've got a low support on it. I'm thinking maybe right around at 90.69 for the pullback. And then your next support level is going to be right here at 93.45. We do have a little spot in here we could call our second. And that's going to be right there at 92.30. So we got 90.69. That first one's right there at 93.45. Then the resistance to break will be 95.72. All the way up to this gap up here to 98.15. And maybe get new highs up to the 100 level. But for right now, the 20-day is right here. I would say probably at first support it'll pull back to 93.45 and then retrace back up to 95.72 and break out of that. And then you'll have a little resistance at the 98 level, and it could start to form that channel. But I don't see it going below this blue line at all. And that blue line, I showed you how to kind of draw that from these two right here. And then that third one bounced right to there and hit it also. That's JP Morgan. The next one, hope that helped you out some. Always feel free to stop these videos. This will be recorded and will stay on YouTube after we're done. And you can rewatch it over again, or you can stop and copy and paste these charts. So that JP Morgan, we're going to talk about Lulu. Lulu is one of my favorite trades. I called it out at about 110 bucks when it was down there a while back. Made it to 50. And when we had the big crash, this is something to pay attention to. When we had the big crash about a month ago, I was telling people to look back 20 years to try to find support levels on a chart. And you won't see that with Lulu because it ain't been out that long. But a lot of stocks that you have seen, and we're going to go ahead and pull this up, have pulled back. You can see the support levels on the 20-year. We've had a beautiful rebound on the market, even back when it was down here at 128.20. I mean, this was a strong buy, and we were calling it out in the room. Almost every ticker out there was a strong buy because of the harsh sell-off that we had. And we did pull back to levels that were probably a lot bigger than the levels that we had on 2018. And I'm going to pull up the 3-year chart and show you something here on the 3-year. This is a 3-year weekly. Remember that sell-off we had with the trade war right here back in December? Well, I called the bullish run at the first of the year of 2018. And we had at the end of 2018 into 2019. And we had nothing but a bull run on almost every ticker out there. And then we had the big crash. And it crashed back and hit that 200 EMA on a 3-year weekly chart and bounced right off of that. And now we've got the 9 start to curl up. So this had a beautiful breakout last here ever since that pullback. And we're going to pull up the yearly now and look at the yearly. Yearly daily. This is just unbelievable. You know, this was just ugly. And Lululemon clothing is not for the poor. This is for the people that have money and the wealthy. And they're going to keep buying their clothes. It's not going to affect Lulu's sales at all. Maybe if they did open, I think, a store in Canada, or that might have been a different company. Yeah, it was different. But we're bullish on Lulu. I think it can pull back. We've had a pretty nice little spot up here at 225. If it does get up to about 229, I'd consider yourself lucky. I'd probably take profit if you haven't already took it. We're going to pull up the 20-day. Look at the 20. Well, I'm going to go back to that year and see if I can find anything else. Got a little ahead of myself. We're going to put a line. I look at the daily, and this is how I start when I draw my resistance and support levels. And I see that right there. Then I see a spot right in here right there at that candle right there. I'm going to magnify this up so I can get right on it. And then we have another pullback right here, right around the 209. You see where the bottom of that is, and then you have this, I don't know what kind of bullish candle right here this is, but it definitely was bullish because of the way it broke out the next week. Looks like a sledgehammer. I make up names every once in a while. So let's pull up the 20-day on Lulu. We've got a ascending triangle right in here. We're going to make that probably the low support at 206. It runs right into that 100 EMA, which is pretty positive. Now I like how these are, the way these are stacked up. This is a bullish pattern. When you have the 200, the 100, the 34, and the 9 EMA, that's a bullish pattern. And if you start to see that 9 curl down, we could pull back and hit that 34. And that's right here at the 215.30 level. So these are going to be your support levels. We've got to break a resistance of 226 to bring it back to 229. Now I'm going to look at one more chart pattern, one more timing here. We're going to put that right here. We had this little top right here. We had that consolidated area. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a trend line right there. Then I'm going to draw another one probably right in here. We had a beautiful breakout on this Friday. So it is going to probably pull back a little bit and consolidate. I'm going to say low support is going to be no lower than this 50% retracement right here, right around the 220 area. The second one's going to be right here, right around the 220, 210. And if it pulls back to this first support at 223.20, you could have a bounce back up with a resistance to break at 226.42 to the 229 area. And that's going to be Lulu. Bullish on Lulu, but just because the stock pulls back doesn't mean that I'm not bullish. The next one we're going to talk about is going to be ACB pot stock. Pot stocks, Definitely followed that trend when they were running. Oh, ACB or ABC? Put the wrong ticker in there. Okay, we had a nice little breakout to 74. Let's check out the news. I always like to look at the news, and there's another thing that I want to pull up, and that's looking at the float. And I always use FinViz when I'm cross-referenced between trade ideas, and I'll look at the float and see how big the float is on it. Huge float, 1.15 billion. So that's got a big float. ACB does. It can have a lot of reverse splits if it needs it, if it needs money, which it probably does. So let's look at the chart again. See if there's any news. A buyer's market of cannabis stocks, but the game has changed dramatically. Wonder why? Because people are not allowed to go into the stores. Let's see what this headline says right here. Cannabis has been managed for the year. Top investors, blah 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 blah. Fast money panel investors. You got ACB, Canopy Growth, CGC among producers. Everything is going to be adjustments and watching the money and raise money emergency funding. Yeah, so it's going. Sales are going to hurt a little bit. Sales are going to hurt a little bit. So let's look at the yearly chart and see how the corona has affected this stock. This was, one of my favorite stocks at one time. You can see on the year we're up here at 937. So we're in places now where we want to probably consider scalping the trade. I wouldn't be holding it for long term, but we are at a double bottom. We did hit that at 60 cents, and we do have a little resistance level right here, right around the 110. So the dollar mark is going to be like our little resistance area. Let's pull up the 20-day. 20-day pullback. We have a support level right here. I'm going to get rid of these Fibonacci's. I'll just get rid of everything. We'll start fresh. My other Fibonacci's stay on here, and they adjust per every time frame that I'm in. And you can find that on TOS. If you have TOS and you're curious about it, go edit studies. And this is called the Auto Fibonacci's. And you can find that over here by just typing in FIB, and then you have that Auto Fibonacci right here, and you can hit either one of these. I think it's this one right here. And you double click that, and that'll bring it over into here. Hit apply and hit OK. And they'll automatically set up for you. So we got a little resistance here at 80 cents. I'm looking at the 20-day because the year is not going to tell me much. And we got another resistance right up here around 90. Now we do have a bottom down here. We had a double bottom on a 20-day chart, and that's right around the 6. Oh, let's just make it 6. I don't like that 666 in there, so we'll make it 6639 for a low support. Then we have a little consolidated area right in here at 75. And we're going to go ahead and put that in there. And another resistance right up in here where we had this little spot in here, where we had that dip right there. And I'm going to go ahead and put that right there. So I'm looking for areas where I think it can break. We'll be lucky to get it up to 96. Be very lucky. Hard resistance right here at 90.56 with a low support at 66.39. And the resistance that we need to break is going to be the 75.14 area. If we can break past that, we'll break it up to these next 3 resistance levels. And you'll be a lucky dog to get it up to 96, and I'd be consider profit, unless it gets some real outstanding news. Then we have another resistance right here. So we're at 71. We're down here at a pretty good little spot. If it does pull back to 66.39, I would consider that an entry for a triple bottom bounce up to resistance levels of right around 75. And then if that 75 breaks, you've got these other 3 resistances that it can go to. That's going to be your 80, 86, and your 90 area. consider it a gift if it gets to 96. Consider it a gift. And the next one we're going to talk about, that's ACB. mRNA is a hot sucker right now. We're going to go ahead and put that mRNA in here. We're all about money flow. Vegas is the money flow queen, and I'm all about reading the tape. She is too, and we're about playing momentum stocks and finding the ones that trend. Trend is your friend, and if you can follow the trends, that's when you make all your money. And I've always been a momentum player, and I play off news, and I like to be in the now. And there's always a trend going on. Right now it's Corona. And then the hard sell-off that these beautiful stocks that we've been watching have been very bullish on for over 15 years have pulled back. We're still, we're not in, the market's not in trouble because the economy sucks. The market's in trouble because of fear and the Corona. And once they find an issue, they resolve the issue of Corona, America will change into a whole different kind of country. It will not be the same. More people will be working from home. Some of these people, small businesses will probably close down and new ones will come in. I'm just excited to see the new experiment that America will be in for the next couple of years. But my bottom word is America will come back stronger than ever. And I do mean that seriously. So we got mRNA next. She's been outstanding Corona play. Whoops. Come on, Jim. Beautiful run on this trade. I wish I'd have had enough sense to get in this when this was down here at the bottom down here. And I haven't played it at all. We've got a pennant flag working right here. You see, that's called a pennant flag. And I do probably expect it to pull back to this moving average of maybe right down here at 43. Unless they come out with something right around the 44 area. But I'm going to show you what a pennant flag looks like. You have that big engulfing candle. And then you have lower highs and higher lows. So it's getting ready to squeeze. I think it could probably pull back first thing in the morning and then bounce back up. That's the way I'm looking at this candle, at this pattern. And we're going to go ahead and draw this pennant flag in here for you. And I'll say it over and over again. If you learn how to play chart patterns, your life will be much better. It's kind of a sloppy little pennant flag, but it is one. So if it pulls back, it can pull back to this first support. I got another one right here at 40. Whoop, got to change this back. I'm bullish on this strike too, but we've had too big of a run all the way down here from 34 up to 50. That's a $16 run. And it's running on news because of the Corona vaccine. And this is one that Trump talks about a lot. So we've got a solid support right down here, right around the 44.17. I wouldn't want to see it go any lower than that. We did retest it a few times. And we can retest it again. So that 44.17 is going to be a solid support, and the resistance that we need to break is going to be this 48.66, bring it up to that 50 spot. And now anything past that 50 is going to be a gift, but if it decides to go ahead and break past that, I would consider having your finger on the trigger and taking profit if you're already in the trade. Low support at 44.17. Resistance to break at 50.13, and that's mRNA. And along with that, I'm going to talk about ABT, and I'm going to talk about GILD, G-I-L-D. I've been bullish on Abbott. I mentioned it in the room many a times. And we've had a beautiful run on Abbott. Abbott and Johnson are probably the two side-by-side tickers. So we're going to clear off this mumble jumble in here on this one here on Abbott. We're going to clean it up, and we're going to look at the yearly chart. We broke out of resistance levels right here at 91.73. You see that where we had that top and it pulled on back during the crash of the Corona? Everything pulled back. It didn't matter what it was. Didn't matter what it was. But this is kind of a beautiful little, I mean, it didn't want to pull back, but it had to. And when we hit the bottom at 20,000, 18,000 on the Dow, we called 20,000 for the first support. I had an 18,000 and I had a 15 worst scenario, which would have been a 50% retracement since the big run. So we're going to have another support right here, right around the 90 bucks. Then we're going to have another one right here, right around the 92.55. Then we're going to have another one right off this candle right here. Right there around 94. Then you see how this candle, how the base of that candle held above the base of this one. Look at that. I mean, you see that pattern. We're going to draw another trend line right here. Then our resistance to break is going to be right here. And we closed at 96.01. And let's pull up the 20-day now and see what the 20-day tells us. They should line up pretty good, even on the 20-day. And look how beautiful that is. Now, I'll tell you one thing. I've been doing this extended trendline method for over 15 years. And I've gone back 2 or 3 years, and then trend lines are still there, and they still match up perfectly. If a stock pulls back and it breaks out and then hits that. So I haven't used the Fibonacci's that much, but I have used the heck out of these extended trend lines, and I could consider them to be a lot more accurate. But the only bad issue about the extended trend line method compared to the Fibonacci's is more people are familiar with the Fibonacci, and they're not familiar with the extended trend line method, which I have mastered over the 15 years that I've been trading. So we have a low support right here at $90. I don't want to see it go any lower than that. If it does, it will consolidate into this area right in here. And that'll be, that'd be quite a bit of drama. And it did pull back. And I didn't see this over here, but it runs right into that 86.40. But we're going to call this first support level. Low support at 90 bucks. Going to be a strong buy. And then you're going to have a couple other spots in here on the 20-day. And I'm trying to find a place in here that I'm willing to call a support level, and I'm going to hit it right there at 93. So let's pull up the 5-day, 5-minute. First support is going to be where it pulled back on Friday right here, right at 94.78. We're going to call this a little channel of support level right in here. We're going to fill that in, and I'm going to take a drink of water. Oh, I got people that are going to message me too. I gotta have my phone on. Okay. So that first channel of support, first channel of support is going to be in here. We're going to look at a little window. Bam, right there. And the second support level is going to be here at 93.67 with a low support right down here at the 90 bucks. That's going to be a strong buy. When I say low, I'm telling you strong buy. And that third support channel is going to be between right in here. And we're going to go ahead and color that in also. I look at charts differently. They're not always the same. But I'm looking at, this has had such a great run and we did have like a descending pattern right here with a lower high. We could be creating a little channel in here for support, and if that holds, that'll be great. It'll bounce up and retrace the double top at 97.40. If not, you have your first support channel to buy in this area. Your second one's going to be between 92.55 and the 93.67. If it does pull back to this area right here and dips down in here and starts to consolidate, that means it's starting to get healthy and it could bounce back up. If it just kind of keeps lingering on down and going on down, it could hit this 91.73 and bounce off that. But I don't want to see it fail this area. If it does, it can pull back and hit this and bounce straight back up. And these will become resistances after they became supports, with a strong buy at $90, with a resistance to break at 90.74. And that's going to be Abbott. And while we're talking about mRNA, Abbott, and Guild, those are my three top tickers when it comes to Corona. When it comes to the vaccine. So we're going to look at Guild next. Guild, third party came out and said that, they were talking about all the good news that Guild had with the survival rate of the vaccine. Let me get a drink. Spilled a little on me. Chase it with some coffee. Wipe off my mouth. Got a little sloppy in there, I guess. So we got a low support at $90. I'm going to repeat these again on Abbott with that first support, our third support at 91.73, with a channel of support on the second one at 92.55 to 93.67, and that first one at 94.31 to 94.78. You see how they kind of dip in here like we did right here? You see how that held that support area? You had this beautiful candle right here, which is called a doji, and she went ahead and had engulfing candles right after that. The next candle was above that doji. And this is what you got to learn when you're studying chart patterns and candle patterns. This is a bullish sentiment right here when this next candle pulled back to that doji and created a high, and then the next one came in and did the same thing. It didn't break below that base of that candle. Then the third one came in and done the same thing, and then then you had these couple soldiers right here that did the same thing. Didn't want to break resistance, came back, then it retested and came back again. So we're still having higher lows, which still is a bullish pattern. But that's something you watch out. You look for that doji, then you look for that next candle, and this is on a daily 1 minute, daily five. I mean, this is a 5-day 5 minute, and then you see how the base is, which is still telling you this sucker is still bullish. It probably bounced up here and pulled back and hit that top of that base and bounced right back up. And then when you had a double combination, that would have been probably a good spot to maybe exit the trade. But I always try to exit a trade when I see another candle, another pattern with a lower high. As you see right in here, you see this? You have that high, you have the lower high, then you have the lower high. That's an exit. And I would have probably done it on the second one. And she went ahead and pulled on back, tried to retest that resistance level a couple times and failed. So by that time, you're up here, you could have got out at maybe 96 and it dropped a couple bucks. But it did, after hours, bounce right back up here pre-market. So, it depends on the stock. ABT is I'm very bullish on. Very bullish. So any kind of pullback, until this corona is over with, once they find a vaccine and you get that big pop, it's going to pull back, and it's going to pull back probably hard. So let's talk about Guild. I've been at this for an hour now. I've got another hour to go. I'll be right back here. Um, shoot, I don't want to. Give me a few minutes. Always clean. Yeah, I'm in the middle of a seminar. What's up? About an hour? Do you need me for something? Okay. Okay, bye. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay, let's talk about Guild. Guild really got on fire. Now, the third party came out and talked about Guild, and it gave a lot of momentum, but it did pull back pretty much pre-market and most of the day. Then we had a late day run. But we called this down at 68 bucks. Longhorn in the room's been pretty much on this, watching it every day. So we have a resistance level of 89.35. I need to change these up around a little bit. Right around 89.39. And we got another one right here at 86.65. And another resistance level right here, right around 84.44. So we're going to try to figure, we've got another support level right down here. And I'm going to go ahead and keep this support level that I had on here already, that I've already charted up. And that was on the 5-day, 5-minute. We're going to look at the yearly real fast, see if I missed anything. Been a real choppy trade. You see how it kind of had that higher lows, and then she squeezed out, and she had the lower lows and the higher lows right there. Kind of created a little, I don't know, a diamond shaped pattern. And we broke a resistance level out on it Friday, and she bounced on up and almost hit that double top up here at 85.97. Come real close to hitting that, so that was a real hard resistance. And we're going to magnify this up so I can get this candle right there. So anything past 85.90 is going to be probably the place you want to take the exit and buy at support level on this trade. It will pull back a little bit like it has. I can't see it going any lower than 81.23. You can see we've had higher lows on Guild. And we'll go ahead and draw this candle right up in here, and we'll bring it up. But that's evidence that this is a bull flag. When you have higher lows, it's not going to come back down to the 74 area. If it does, it'll be a strong buy. This resistance support level right at around 77.81 will be your place that you probably want to get into the trade if it doesn't hold this channel between 80 and 81.49. Now I think it can pull back to this channel of 81.23. I meant 81.23. If it pulls back to that, you could probably bounce right back up to this resistance level of 84. And if it breaks 84, you've got these other little resistance levels that it can go to. That's going to be right there at 88.22. And you got a support level right here. So that's going to be, I'm getting that from that candle right there. So let's pull up the daily 5-minute, 5-day. Beautiful breakout on this stock. You know, anytime I see a big breakout like this and I'm in the trade, I'm out of the trade when the bell rings. And if I'm in an option, or if I see this go up after hours, I'm out of the trade. I'm not going to sit there and watch it pull back. I'll be the last person to do that. Especially on an engulfing pattern like that. So we have a support level right here. This is going to be our second one. Okay, first support at 82.93. The second one's going to be here at 82, and then 81.23 with a strong possibility of a buy right around 80 bucks. If it dips down to 80, I'll probably be looking at an option trade. And if it fails that 80 and gets down to this previous high down here, that's your low support level to get in the trade. And the resistances are above it. We got to break a resistance level of 85.90, 86.65, and 88.20. And That'll be the profit taking stage right up in here if it does decide to break up, and that's Guild. So anyone else, are we getting anything out of this seminar so far when it comes to finding pivot points, supports, and resistance levels? Anybody else have anything else that they want me to look at? All the new people here that are just been in the room, we're talking about, this is what I'm going to be doing for 2 hours every Saturday from about 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to talk about a few stocks. We're going to be looking for supports, how to find supports, pivot points, and resistance levels. And we keep doing this over and over and over again. I talk about it all the time. We're going to be looking for chart patterns. We're going to be looking at candlesticks. And we're going to be looking at different kind of tools to find these, and different just chart patterns in general that makes a bullish or a bearish trade. You can see we had a descending pattern definitely here on Guild pre-market. Pre-market's not the story that can tell you how a trade can. I mean, it can pull back and try to find a support level, but you can see the support level failed on Guild. And if this is a trade I would have probably watched all day long if I wanted to make the trade. But there's your descending pattern right there. And it went ahead and failed that and kept pulling on back most of the day. And then had that beautiful bounce right into close. Back up to this level right here. You see that channel? You see that? Where it pulled back and retested many a times and then kept retesting the lower highs. I would have drawn this trend line from right here and it extended it on down, and you could see every time it bounced off this support level, it hit that trend. You could see that happening. And then right into open, it sold off hard. And I would have probably not got into this trade until the end of the day, just because of this pattern right in here. Once that failed, that was a bearish pattern. But yet, at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, it did bounce back to that bottom horizontal line, which is a solid, hard resistance. It's a solid, hard resistance because we retested that many of times. And that's what gives this double top area right in here. So, low support, 81.23, 82, 82.93 with a resistance, a hard triple top resistance to break at 84.36. Now, I'm going to be looking for a channel. I want it to build a channel all this week. I don't know if I'll take the trade or not, but I will if it breaks a resistance level of 84. If not, I'd probably get into the trade down here at the bottom of the channel, which I think the channel is going to be created between 81.23, maybe that $70, $80 area for one more final test to the bottom, and go diagonally to maybe up right around this area of 85 to 86. Anything above that's going to be a gift. Anything above that's a gift. And when I say gift, that means you have your finger on the trigger and you're in the trade. Get ready to take profit, because I guarantee it'll pull back into this channel. Any other stocks that we're very interested in watching here? And if you've already picked a ticker and nobody else is donating, throw one at me. I suggest also have a good watch list. Right now Corona's in play, so I'm going to pull up a Corona watch list, and I'm going to show you how red this sucker was. Always look at the percentage highs too, percentage gainers at the beginning of the day. We had mRNA on here. I shouted out Gene quite a bit throughout the day. And I look at the volume highs, and I try to bring it to a volume high level. So let's pull up a Corona watch list. I've got two of them in here. The top 5 on my Corona watch list that were green was Guild. How'd Roku get in here? Roku's in here too. It's a Corona play. It's one of my cocooning plays. Codex was a very hot stock, I think, Friday. But Guild was on number 1 with BIOC. It started coming back on Friday. There's another beautiful one. Beautiful little setup. Got an ascending triangle right here with a triple top. BCRX. I know. Look at I know. I mean, that's another one that's pulled back a few times. Kind of have a, I don't know, pennant flag right here. Roku. Let's talk about Roku. Roku had a real nice run. Their subscription rate doubled, the way I understood. I did a video on this a while back. They got a price. They lowered the price target to 150. I was bearish on this stock Friday. I got out of the trade. I swung it. I made some good money on it. I had that big run, and then I felt with all the other news out, talking about reopening up the cities and stuff, that this would be a little bearish and pull back a little bit. So I got out first thing Friday morning. I was in a call option on it. I didn't make a lot of money on it, but I did make a lot of money on Boeing. I had about an $800 day. So let's draw a little resistance level here on got a resistance level here on Friday right around this area in here at 127.63. Whoops. I'll change that around. I'll put it right there. 127.77. It's going to be a hard resistance. Support level is going to be right down here at 124.43. Then we got a second support right here at 121.73, and this 119.68's got a hold. So anything below this, it might fail and go down farther. Anything below 119. But if we pull back to here, it could be a strong buy for a retracement bounce back up to these 3 resistance levels. And there's another one right in here. So we got, let's pull up the 20-day now. The 20-day high. See, now this is another chart pattern. Another chart pattern right here. You see these 1, 2, 3 candles? They're called 3 white soldiers. Now when you have 3 white soldiers, and the next candle that comes in doesn't break that base of that third one, it's usually going to sell off. So that's an idea. And then when you have the lower wick, is another indicator that this is going to be bearish for the rest of the day. So you have 3 white soldiers, and once that 3 white soldiers is completed, the next candle next to it, if it doesn't break past it, you'll probably want to take your profit. And that's just something to think about, and wait for the next day for it to pull back for support level, and that support level is right in here on that second candle. You see that? See how it pulled back and hit that? That would have been a good spot to get into the trade and scalp from 119 all the way up to 127. And I get that resistance level from this candle right here and these other candles right in here. So I'm sitting here looking at them real strong. You know, I just love looking at patterns, and I absorb the patterns, and I absorb the candles. We got another support level right here. See where they halted right there on the hour chart? We're going to put another one right in there because all them bases, them candles right there. So let's go back to the three minute now. Here's another triple top failed, and then it pulled on back to that 200. right there, that 200 EMA. And here you have a Head and Shoulders, and that Head and Shoulders failed and pulled back to support level. And then most of it had been a nice time to get in this trade here at 120 something, 121. Unless you were, I mean, this was a good buy. I mean, I would have jumped in this trade right down here, and I didn't because I already had a good day, and when I have a real good day in the morning, I just don't feel like I want to trade a lot, and I just want to learn and help other people learn, because I don't want to take a chance after having 3 good hits and then turn around and lose it all because I'm not concentrated or not into the game. But we did have a triple top up here after the resistance level, and that failed. So that would have been probably a good exit. I always say exit on the triple top if it fails. And we did have kind of not a big pullback. So we're still kind of bearish on this trade. But low support at 121.73, 123.30. Then you got that 124.43 with a resistance to break at 127.77 back up to that 130, 132 level. And that's going to be Roku. Okay, anybody else have another ticker they want me to look at? It's all up to you. I can keep digging. Any questions? Anybody want to take a little break? Come back in about 10 minutes? I can keep going. Let's look at NVIDIA. Did I do Boeing? Yeah, I did Boeing, I think. Did Roku. Did Tesla. Yeah, let's look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA's price target is 330 from 305. Maintains a buy rating. I always like to look at that news. NVDA. Let's pull up the 20-day chart. Let's see if we had these higher highs. Then we had the big breakout on Thursday, and she pulled back. Friday, and then into close she had a little bounce up. So we got a solid support right down here at this previous base right here. I'm going to magnify this up and draw that in right there. Then I'm going to go ahead and color that in. See how we had that top right here? See, it's a pretty good place of consolidation. We'll color that in for probably the first support. The first one's going to be right here at 288.23. Dadgummit. We're talking about NVDA. $288.15 to 286.69 is going to be your first support. We're going to color that baby in too. Try again. And then that third one's going to be right around 279.86 to this bottom part right in here. So put the $sign in there and we'll bring it on down to right here. That's going to be your third support area. We're going to color that in too. When the higher the ticker is, I like to put a little bit bigger spread on my supports and my resistance levels. So we've got 3 different supports, and we're going to have to find a resistance to break. And that resistance to break is going to be that consolidated area we had into close on the video, and that's going to be right here at 292.67. Said candles, how they kind of collide right there. This is on a 20-day, 1-hour chart, and how that consolidated right in here. The next one's going to be right up here, right around the 295, back up to the 297. So it is kind of overextended. We're going to look at the third support between 277.11 to 279.86. That first one. Second one's going to be right in here between 284.26 and 285. And then that first one's going to be right around here at 286.90 to 288.15 with a resistance to break at 292. Now if we can break that 292, we'll bring it up to these other 2 resistance levels. And anything past 297 is going to be a gift. But we're going to be watching the tape and the money flow, and we're going to be watching algo flow, see how the call ratio is on this trade. That's going to be NVIDIA. I'm going to write that in here, NVDA. Most of these are cocooning plays, almost every one I mentioned. And I'm still, like I said, the market has a short attention span. I want to look at, there are some more here. Chris wants to look at MMM. We'll add it to the list. Triple M's, they're making masks. Now, they got some bad press for a little bit, and then you can see that down here when it pulled back to this 114 on a 20-day, and then we've had a bounce all the way back up. So we're kind of creating a descending pattern for right now. And I'm going to draw that descending trend line. I'm going to show you what it looks like here. We're going to hit that. We're going to go over here and we're going to draw this descending pattern. We did have a triple top. See the triple top? Then we have kind of a lower high right in here. Not really bad descending pattern, so it still could be a little bullish here. Then we're going to draw in the triple top. This is triple M with a triple top. So the resistance we got to break is going to be this 150. And we're going to try to find a little pivot point, a little area in here that I consider a pivot point. A pivot point is a place where it's determining if it wants to break to a resistance or it wants to pull back to a support level. And I got to try to find an equilibrium in here. And I see one right here. I see one right here. You see where it kind of pulled back right there? We have that little resistance level right in here. We again consolidated right here. We tried to break resistance right here. So that's going to be your little pivot point. And that's going to be at 147 something. I'd like to see it stay in this channel and have respect for this 200 EMA. If not, it can pull back to these lower support levels right in here. And I'm going to draw that right at 139.76 for a strong buy. At 139. And maybe down here at the low of 137 at the most. We did have an ascending pattern right here, where we had the higher lows and we had the horizontal line. So we broke out of an ascending pattern and we turned it into a descending pattern once we hit the triple top. Every chart tells a story. So let's look at one more little spot in here for a support level. Right around that. So I want to see it hold this channel at 143.86. If it doesn't hold that, we might pull back to this other level at 139.76 where we had that previous high on the 20-day. And I'm pretty strong about that, so I'm going to turn that into a red line. And that tells me something. That 139.76 is a real strong support. So we got support number 3 at 139.76, 142.10 to 143.86. Now I do believe it can pull back and consolidate here at that 143.86. If it does, it'll go back up to these pivot point in the channel of 147.11 to a triple top, and I can't see it breaking 150. I just can't see that happening. But I can see it pulling back to these other channels. And once it does that, these will become resistance levels after that happens. And that's MMM. So there you go, Chris. AIKI is next. See, I was in the now with triple M's because I knew that they had some bad news about the press, and then they got the okay with Trump, and everything was all fine. And you can see after that happened, after the big bounce that it did have. AIKI is next, and this goes out to Limerick. We've got 30 more minutes left until this is over with, so we're going to start closing it up here in about a half hour. Limerick. Now, I'm not familiar much with this ticker, so I want to read the news. It just had a closing of an offering of 14 million. That's always good news when they close an offering. It means they probably need a little bit of money and looks to me like it is a COVID play, COVID-19. So it probably ran up pretty good off that news, which it did. The closing of the offering is good news to a stock. An offering in general, there's different kinds of offerings, and you need to probably do your homework on that and find out what's a good offering or what's a bad offering. But it did have a nice little bounce. I mean, it's not going to stay long because it's just a closing of an offering, but it does cause people to want to get into the trade. Now, I want to look at the float. I want to take that in consideration. Is that another reason why it was up? It is a low float stock of 11, almost 12 million in float. And I looked that up through FinViz. So the low floaters were on it. It just wasn't low enough to keep the momentum going, to keep the volatility going. But the lower the float, the more volatility you'll have in a trade. And a lot of people that watch low floats look for the 2.5 million and below. Anything above that, and to me a low float stock is anything under 25 million. But the lower the float, the more volatility you'll get out of the trade. So let's go back to AIKI. That's NVIDIA. There we go. It failed the 50% retracement on that big bounce. So we're back down here at a bottom level. I see a couple little candles over here. I see this little consolidated area right here. So I'm going to put a little trend line right here where we had that previous breakout. Then I'm going to draw a couple more. Kind of looking in here. There's another one right in here. I like this area at 61. Then we got a low support right down here, right around the 55 area. So the closing of the offering. You know, I'm semi. You know, I can't say I'm bullish on it or bearish on it, but I can say that I would scalp it. I don't think I would hold it for a swing. So let's go to the 20-day. Got a little resistance level at 95. And we have a place of consolidate. I'm looking right in here at 81. Then another little support level right here on these two candles right here. right about there. So let's go ahead and pull this back up. See if there's anything I missed. One spot right here. Is that counter right there? Right there. Let's pull this up to the 3 minute. Let's go to the 5 day. I'm bouncing around back and forth on this. I'm just trying to find places. Then I'm going to magnify. So we have a hard resistance at 95. If we break 95, we can bring it up to newer highs. And that's going to be right in this level right here, right around the 109. Then you're going to have a huge gap right in here. So no higher than 130 is going to be a very... 130 is your strong resistance, and that's where you want to get out of the trade. So here we go. We got a low support at 75. We have a resistance to break at 90 cents. We have a pivot point area right here, right around 83. So that's going to be your pivot point. And I'm going to chalk this up in red. I'm not 100% bullish on this trade. Just because it had a closing of an offering, it needed a little bit more news to make this sucker run. So if I was looking at it, I'd probably maybe, and the momentum and the volume was there, I'd get in down here at 75 cents for your third support, 79, 81, and the pivot point. We did decide to go ahead and into after hours to break that pivot point and to go up here to 85, 86, and 90. And then we go, if we can break $1, 109, and then if it hits 130, take your profit. And that's AIKI, Limerick, and Amazon we're bullish on. We talked about JP Morgan at the beginning of the video, after about probably, I think it was right around the 5th trade. So let's look at, oh yeah, TRNX was a beauty. It was a good news. Miss Vegas alerted that in the room. It was on fire, and we're going to talk about that for sure. I'm going to clear this up. I was bullish past 2,000 on Amazon. I think we're back up here to a level where we kind of want to have a pullback. We've retested this before. We'll see if we can find it on the 20-day. No, we're going to need to go a little bit farther out. I think it might even farther than that. Let's go to 6 months. Yeah, here we go. So we did break past resistance level. And that resistance level is right here, right around the 2175. Right there, 2172. This is going to pull back. I'm very bullish on this trade. I think it's undervalued. And this is a Corona play. Everybody has to stay home and order online anything that they want. So this turned Amazon into a very bull trade. And I called this down. I called this dip during the crisis. I said, go ahead and get you the puts and wait for the reversal. And when a reversal happens, it's going to break previous high. And she did it. So we've got to try to find an equilibrium. We've got to try to find a solid support. And what we're going to use is we're going to use this place right in here as a reference for a solid support. I can't see it going no lower than 2172.84. I'm going to go ahead and turn that into a red line because that's going to mean something to me. That's going to mean something to me. This little area right in here. That's going to be a place where I think it can pull back. My old resistance was 2,000 and we broke past that. We had a big engulfing candle. We've had 3 or 4 of them right here. And now we have a spinning top. And I think it can pull back just one more time and hit these other 3 resistance levels with a strong buy at 2172. And let's pull up the 20-day now, see if there's anything on the 20-day that I might be missing. See how they kind of line up pretty good, pretty good. And I was just looking at dailies. Now I'm looking at hours, hour chart. I can't see it going back down here to 2052, but if it does, that's going to be a strong buy. Right here, right there at that level. If that happens, we had 3 white soldiers right here. And she decided to go ahead and hang out and break past that last base, which gave it more of a bullish sign. 3 white soldiers. So we got a resistance level right here at 2400 with a double top area of right around the 2447. If we can break that double top, we can go up to new higher highs. I think there's people that have some real nice price targets on this stock. And it just gets better and better, better and better, this trade does. So low support, no lower than 2172. You've got your third one right here at 2200. You got your second one at 2255. And that first area of channel of support is going to be between 23.5 to 23.43. And if we break resistance, it's going to be the double top area of 24.47. And then you look at targets. You keep in mind, $50 scalps. So anything to 25, 25.50, 26. And that's Amazon. I'm bullish on Amazon. Strong buy at 2172. And I'm creating a watch list, and I'm going to be watching every one of these tickers come Monday. We did JP Morgan. I'll do a little flashback on JP Morgan. It won't take me more than a second. I'm bullish on JP Morgan. We kind of found an equilibrium right in here in this little channel. So it's either going to pull back to support of 87.24 or it's going to break the resistance of 95, and anything past the $100 mark is going to be a gift. Take profit. That's JP Morgan. That goes for Sheen. Thanks for joining the group today. Tim, TRNX was a beautiful trade. I know a lot of people that made a lot of money on this trade, and probably some that lost. To me, the news was wonderful. It's had so many splits. It's had a name change. It's had offerings. I mean, and it's never held any highs at all. It's always pulled back hard. And if I knew this sucker was at 10 cents, I would have loaded up. I wasn't paying attention to it. I would have loaded up at that 10 cents. With or without news. With or without. I would have definitely gambled on that trade and took that trade. And I would have probably went in a good couple $1,000, knowing that I could double my money on it. At least take it to 20. And the sucker, it came out with that news about it's not going to go ahead and take the reverse split. And it said it had enough cash on hand to pull through this corona phase. And to me, that was just wonderful news. I mean, probably the best news that this stock's had in over 3 years. So I got a couple support levels on it, and I want to kind of try to really use my imagination on this trade right now. I had a target of 40 cents, and it went beyond that and hit that $50, 50-cent spot. So we did pull back, as you can see, Friday after it just, people held and swung this overnight. I know a lot of people made some real good money on this trade. So let's bring this up to a and if I'd have known it, if I was watching it, I would have been in it. There would have been no doubt. Let me see what I can find here. I got to try to find a place where it consolidated. You don't see much of that going on. So we're going to call it, and I called the low support in the room here at 2673. So if this sucker pulls back to that 2673 area, I would probably scale in. And if it did pull back to this 22 cent area, I think we're going to see a dead cat bounce. We did have a descending pattern after hours, and then people loaded up on it. And I think loading up on it right there, we could get a retracement bounce back to 40 and get a higher low. And then maybe, and if it did pull back to this lower area of right around the 22 cent area, I would load it up and take it up to 26 and maybe up to right around that 31 cent area and find a little resistance right up here, right around 33.22. That would be the dead cat play. And if it breaks the resistance of 36, I think we can get it back to 40. And then anything beyond 40 is going to be a gift. But you've got a lot of eyes on this trade, and it had a lot of volume. Look at this. Hardly any volume at all when it was down here. And then all of a sudden that news came out, and you had the pop. I mean, just a beautiful little trade. You do have some divergence as it goes into close. A little selling off. That means the sellers are getting out and the buyers are getting back in it. And as that went down, the stock went up. So I'm thinking no lower than 22. First support right around the 27 area with a resistance to break right around this blue line of 38.83. And if we can get past that, anything beyond 44 cents is going to be a gift. And that's when you want to have your finger on the trigger. And I'm glad you brought that up, Tim. That's TRNX. Vegas likes this trade. And if I'd known it was down here at 10 cents, I would have took a big risk. Okay, we talked about M&M. We talked about, if you go back in the video after this is recorded, you'll find the stock Triple M. How about space? And then we'll close it up with AMD. What do we got here? We got another one here. Oh, we got some more in here. Let me see. Okay. AMD we're bullish on. And AYTU, well, that was a trip. Let me see here. AMD. Okay. I'm going to clear this up. I know I like this area right in here for support. We're bullish on AMD, but we're at a resistance level of 58.95. So we're going to try to find some supports. And let's look at the 20-day first. We called this stock under 10 bucks, and we called it to go to 30, and it ran to 30 and pulled back to around 16. And then this was, last year or a couple years ago. So we got a low support right down here at the $50 area. We're going to go ahead and chalk that in right there. We had a breakout to right about up in this channel in here. That's going to be right at the 52.24 area. We have a low support down here under 50 at 47. Maybe, well, see, I got to be looking at this area right in here, where that had that double top, and it failed, and it pulled back. Got another support level right here at 53.56, and then another one right here at 55.32, and we had a gap. So let's try to fill that gap up a little bit. We're going to bring it to the gap at 55.54. We're The reason I took it to the gap is because we had that pullback here on Friday. And we have a resistance level right here at around 58.88. I guess he was texting me here. I got a friend mowing the yard for me, and yep, here he is. Give me just 1 second here. I'm about done. Okay, let's get back to AMD. Okay, AMD is one of our bullish trades when it comes to chip makers. AMD gets affected with China every once in a while. AMD we like a lot. So we're going to call a couple support levels, and I think that $50 mark is going to be your solid spot. Anything below that is going to be a strong buy. Anything below 50. So I really like the $50 area for a solid low support. And I'm going to go ahead and change this into a red line. Anything around 50. Anything below it's going to be a strong buy. And then you can bounce it back up to these different resistance levels. So we have three different supports. We have a 55.54, 53.56, and 52.24 with a low strong buy at $50. Now the resistance to break are going to be two resistance to break, 57.23 all the way up to a double top of 58.95, and then you got your second resistance right here at 57.81. What I would, if I was wanting to take this trade, I wouldn't take it until we had a pullback. At least to the first, second, or third support levels. I wouldn't take it right in here because I think what it would do, well, if you did, it would be just a couple dollar scalp. We did have a pocket pivot right here. Sometimes I call it a fish hook, but we're bullish on this trade. So if it does have a day where it has any kind of pullback evidence, that would be where you want to get into the trade. And you want to wait for confirmation. I really like this 55.47 for your first support because we had a high right there. And then I do like this a lot more at 53.56, and I love it at 52.24, and I would probably sleep with it at $50 because that would be a real strong buy. And that's going to be AMD. And the next one we're going to look at, we talked about JP Morgan. Now everybody likes that JP Morgan. ABT, John, we like that one too. I like everybody putting their input on these stocks right here. There's John. Hello, John. And the last one we're going to talk about is going to be... Let's see. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Vegas. You're welcome, my friend. You're welcome. Let's go ahead and close it off with, well, did we talk about okay, we'll talk about two more penny stocks. AYTU. AYTU seems to me like it's underperformed for what it is. And I don't know why. And that last one I seen BIOC, am I right? BIOC. What makes you a good chartist is trying to figure out how to find supports, pivot points, and resistances, looking for chart patterns, and learning how to study candlestick patterns. And every time frame is different. and every time frame's different. When you're looking for chart patterns, you can use them any way you want. You can use them as a scalp, you can use them as a swing trade, and you can use chart patterns as plain puts. And they have what you call a ascending and a descending pattern. Those are the two you want to study. And you want to study the flag patterns of the pennant flag, the wedges, and I got 6 more minutes, so let me go through AYTU. What makes Vegas and I a good team is she knows more about the companies and the fundamentals, and she's really sharpened up on the technical side of it too. She's starting to become a good technical trader, and I'm mostly all about technicals, chart patterns, and finding that's my strength, and I don't like to deviate from that strength. So all in all, with them two, it makes almost a perfect enhanced trader. And people that are following us in the room are making tons of money if they just kind of have the patience. One of my number one rules is patience. Number 2 is being in the now. Number 3 is knowing the fundamentals, and knowing number 4 is the technicals. And number 5 is try to keep a healthy mind. I think that's probably the number one besides patience. Come in here with a full belly. Try to leave all your worries at home. And when I'm having a bad day, it's not good for me to be trading. When I'm feeling positive and motivated, I'm a lot better trader. And when I'm happy, when I'm singing, when my feet are tipping and tapping, when I have a good cup of coffee at my desk, and little things that spoil a person can also help. But those are the 2 number ones, is try to have a healthy mind and try to be patient. People rush into a trade and regret it, and have a strategy. That's my 5 strategies. That's my game. That's how I make. That's 5 reasons to be a good trader. And if you have a plan, you got to have a game plan. You just can't jump in on people's leads. Every time you do that, you become a loser. You've got to have your own strategic plan to make it work. And if you hit 4 of them 5 criterias, you're looking at a good trade. If you hit 3 of them, you're taking a risk. And if none of them 3 are met, you're just throwing money away. So sit down tonight, try to write down 5 things that would make you a good trader, and then learn from that and find rules to base them on that. And being in the now has to be with the fundamentals, and that's probably number 6. Number 1, 2, being in the now, knowing what trends are running. But those are my 5, and everyone should have their own 5. They don't have to be the same, because there's different kinds of traders. Swing traders, you can only come in here and trade for the first hour. You might trade for the last hour. You can't trade at all during the day, and sit home and watch and have an hour to yourself and just draw a game plan of what stocks you want to watch. Create a good watch list. That's part of the technical part of the side of trading. There's a lot of different branches into the technical part, and there's same branches in the fundamental part. But have a game plan. You will become a better trader. And don't rush into other people's calls. Make sure it's the call that's made for you. Now, I'm kind of disappointed with AYTU. I tried to scalp it the other day, and look what happened. I thought we were going to retrace back up to this area. Then we had that hard sell-off, and it bounced right back up to a 20-day pivot point. So we've got to, and I kind of have this. I kind of like it. I really do. It's it helps with the rapid test kits. I mean, but there's a lot of other companies coming out too that are making these test kits, and they're making them faster, and they want to be able to swab your mouth and say, hey, this guy's got it or not within 5 minutes, and they did have a test kit that could do that. So I don't know. I'm not bullish on it, nor am I too bearish on it. The way I'd play AYTU is on a dip or on any kind of pullback. And if it pulls back to this $1.15 area, or even $1, I'd consider it a strong buy. If it pulled back to that first support right around 119, 116 to 120, I would probably consider that my second support. My first one would be right around this 130 area. I'm looking at a 20-day. I'd start taking my money as it hit the 200 EMA on a 20-day 1 hour, right around the 150 area. Right about there, 150. I'm looking in here. And I'd really start to take my money if it did break that 150 and got up to 164 to 170. And I don't think it can go any higher than that. So I'd play it as a pullback play. I wouldn't jump in it at the pivot point. I would expect it to pull back and then retrace back up, and then use these numbers here as resistance levels. Strong support, strong buy, about $1. If I pull up, I'll show you why. We'll pull up a year's chart. This thing was down at 34 cents, okay? We have a descending pattern right now. So it's starting to show me that it can pull back to that dollar area. And I'll magnify this up. We had the highs right here, said descending pattern. It's kind of like a flag almost too. So we're in a pivot point area right now at about the 138, 130. Let's go back to the 20-day. See if the 10-day help. Here we go. 10-day will work. So let's play it off the 10-day chart. Low support under about 115 to 119, 120 area. That second one's going to be right here at 130. And then we're at the pivot point area right here at 138, 139 with a resistance, a hard resistance between the 160. That's where I'd take profit if I was scalping this trade. Anything beyond that's going to be a gift. And that's AYTU. And then we're going to finish off with BIOC. And that takes me to my time limit for 2 hours. I hope everybody's enjoyed this. And we're going to do the same thing over and over and over again until this, till the cocooning plays are over with. And maybe I might keep on doing it after that also. Okay. They priced in, I had a direct offering right here. That's not too good. That's not too good. BIOC. 10.3 million. Let me write one more message here. I'm about done. If you don't text me, I'll head out there. Okay, let's see. On BIOC, I like to see 37.94 hold. And strong buy right around 33. This did have a direct offering, could cause some negative effect on it. Resistance is going to be right around this 56 area. That first one's going to be right around here, right around 51. So I'm bearish more than I am bullish on it for right now. This is an oil play. Some of the oil stocks have been coming up a little bit. Here's an oil play, right? No, it ain't either. Bio, 75% San Diego Laboratories start testing for COVID-19. Yeah, it is an oil play. Yeah, I'd have to be another one that I wouldn't be too bullish on. If it does move, you scalp it and get out of the trade, or you buy at support level. Now, support the strong buy down here at 25 cents. If you're going to hold it, I mean, I'd probably get in at 25 and maybe run it up to around this 37 area. But your first resistance is going to be right around 33. Now, if it pulls back, those are support levels. And those are the ones that they're going to bounce on. And you want to look for a place of consolidation when they do. We do have a descending pattern on it with a small breakout into close on Friday, and I'm kind of surprised about that. I actually am. Well, now, when they close the offering, then you have the chance of maybe taking it and scalping it up. But for right now, I think it can pull back to either one of these support levels. A strong buy at 25, maybe 33, and this 38 area, with a resistance to break right here at 45.50 up to these other two. And if it hits up here, man, I'll be putting that money in my pocket right around 63. So that's what we're going to look at today. I hope everybody enjoyed the session today. Please subscribe and ring that bell for future updates. Smash that like button. Tell your friends that we're going to be doing this every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for at least another month or two, or until they pull out and open up the pool where I can have me a couple drinks of some Captain Morgan and rum. But always remember, we have the little links down below where our room is down there, and we have our stock twits and our Twitter page. And always remember, I love stocks, and I really do appreciate you all coming out and enjoying this session with me today. And I guess that's about it. So I hope you all really enjoyed it and had a good time today. I know it's long, but there's a lot to learn when you're trading stocks, and it doesn't hurt to find you a couple good mentors. I do consider Vegas one of my mentors, and we got new people coming in the room, or I can name the names off. You know who you are, and I don't want to put you up on a pedestal and get you a big head or nothing, but I learn from everybody. I learn from beginners. I think that's where I've learned most of my stuff has been from beginners. It's just the opposite of the way other people try to look up, because it's the beginners that ask the questions, and it's the beginners that make my head start to work. We all are different. We all have different thinking patterns. Some are faster, some are slower. I consider myself a little bit slower, but I do retain a lot. I always have a new case study every week. And I just want to say thank you, and I love stocks. And I'll be shutting this thing down. And I really do appreciate it. I'm about running my throat dry. I don't think I ever could be a good politician, but I am a good musician, and I like to paint. So everybody have a great day, and I love stocks. And the session is over. Pick up the guitar and play. Yeah, I will. I might on the next session. I do like to sing. A lot of people say I sound like Elvis and Johnny Cash and what's that other? John Prine. Everybody have a good day. Thank you.